A female recruit was forced to leave. Then an admiral called her by rank. The order echoed across the parade ground like a door slamming shut. Private Emily Carter stood frozen, her duffel bag already resting beside her boots. The official reason for her dismissal was simple: one failed fitness assessment after weeks of recovering from an injury. Rules were rules, they said. Around her, dozens of recruits avoided her eyes, pretending not to notice as a dream she had carried since childhood crumbled beneath a gray morning sky. Emily swallowed hard, saluted one last time, and turned toward the gate. She thought it was over. She had no idea someone had been watching. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The wind carried the sharp scent of salt from the harbor as Emily walked away from the base. Every step felt heavier than the last. She wasn't angry. That almost hurt more. She had accepted the decision because soldiers were taught to respect orders, even when those orders broke their hearts. Unknown to her, Admiral Richard Hayes had arrived early that morning for an inspection. From a distance, he had noticed something that paperwork could never reveal. Not weakness, character. Earlier that week, before sunrise, he had watched the young recruit help another trainee who had collapsed during a grueling run. Emily had sacrificed precious minutes that would later cost her own evaluation, to carry the exhausted recruit to safety. She never mentioned it. Neither did the recruit she had saved. The reports simply showed that Emily finished last. By the time Admiral Hayes requested her file, she was already halfway to the exit. "Bring her back," he said quietly. Confusion spread across the command staff. Procedures had already begun. The dismissal papers were signed. Regulations left little room for exceptions. But the Admiral wasn't asking. He was ordering. A military vehicle rolled toward the front gate, stopping just before Emily stepped onto the public road. She looked up, stunned, as an officer stepped out. "The Admiral requests your presence." Requests? Admirals didn't make requests. The entire training battalion gathered as whispers rippled through the ranks. Boots scraped against concrete. Flags fluttered overhead. Even the instructors looked uncertain. Emily returned carrying the same duffel bag she had left with only minutes before. Her hands trembled, though she fought to hide it. Then something happened that no one expected. The Admiral walked directly toward her. Not toward the commanding officers. Not toward the reviewing board. Toward the recruit everyone believed had already been forgotten. He stopped only a few feet away. Then, in a voice that carried across the silent parade ground, he spoke 4 words. "Private Carter." Front and center. Not former recruit. Not dismissed trainee. Private Carter. Every head lifted. The silence became almost unbearable. Admiral Hayes turned to the assembled officers. "Our regulations exist to build disciplined soldiers," he said. "They were never meant to punish selfless ones." He described what he had witnessed that morning. How Emily had chosen another person's life over her own performance score. How true leadership often appeared in moments when no one believed they were being watched. Several instructors lowered their eyes. One of the recruits stepped forward, voice shaking, finally admitting that Emily's actions had saved him from a far more serious injury. He confessed he had remained silent because he feared disciplinary action. The weight of guilt settled over the crowd. Then came the Admiral's final decision. Emily would not only remain in training. Her failed assessment would be repeated after full recovery, and her act of courage would become part of the Academy's leadership instruction for future classes. Applause didn't begin immediately. It started with one recruit, then another. Soon hundreds of gloved hands echoed across the parade ground like rolling thunder. Emily stood speechless, tears filling her eyes. For the first time that day, they weren't tears of defeat. They were tears of belonging. Months later, when she graduated in full dress uniform, Admiral Hayes attended the ceremony once again. This time, he didn't need to call her rank. She had earned it in every heart that witnessed her journey. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And just as the morning that began with goodbye ended with hope, sometimes the longest road away from a dream becomes the very path that leads us back to it. If Emily's story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community for more unforgettable stories that remind us courage is measured not by strength alone, but by the choices we make when no one expects anything in return. And remember, The next incredible story might change the way you see the world.